Screenwriters B. Oh, I have the Q&A. This is not the Q&A. My God. Actually, today's about query letters. It's episode 42. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! Yeah.
Goodness.
You see, we've assembled once again our wonderful panel of working screenwriters, and we have a guest today, but we'll get back to that, gentlemen. Please welcome back Nicole Jones-Dion.
Hello, good to be back.
What have you been up to?
Oh God, what haven't I been up to? So wrapping up this ghost story for Sean Cunningham. We've got another table read scheduled next week with the actors, so hopefully it'll come back awesome and there won't be any more changes to the script. Wishful thinking. And then, yeah, I've got a couple different short films making the rounds and doing the festival circuit. Debris out there in the world getting some festival love, and then Pickle Punks, which is an animated short that I did with my my very talented husband. Yeah. So yeah, and you know, new things on the horizon. So
cool. We'd love to hear that.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah, nice. Welcome, please, Margaret Risley. How you doing?
I'm great. How is everybody out there? It's fantastic to be back again. What have I been up to? New writing assignment, an action thriller that I'm really having a lot of fun with. And the producer wants to go ahead with a supernatural horror script.
Great.
So, yeah.
Bravo. Nice. We'd like to hear that. Eric Ingram, welcome back. What's your good news right now?
The good news is that I'm on the show right now. Oh my God. That is the good news.
That's good news.
I know. Hey, welcome to be back. Episode 42. Oh my gosh, 42. Wow. Yeah, we got I got like 4 writing assignments right now. So 2 pretty nice ones. I'll leave it at that. Of course, I'll tell you when I can. But yeah, 2 very nice ones and 2 other ones that are very, very exciting. And then me and my great writing partners, Mr. Margaret Risley right there, and James Moore, we had a little hiatus that we didn't plan. But we're about to knock that out too. So October is going to be very productive month.
Clever. Oh, by the way, we're cutting your head off a little, just so you know. Yeah. We want to see that handsome face. There you go.
Right, thank you.
Well, hi out there. I'm Ann Kimbrough, and I also have a lot of scripts that are going into production suddenly. I like that. Right. And one of them, I could be co-directing, it sounds like. So this will be interesting. So, nice. With a startup production company, so I'll keep you posted, but that's my good news. I'm also really happy to have Danny Manus with us. Danny.
Hey!
I'm happy to be here.
I think a lot of people recognize your name because you are no bullshit. Oh, sorry, no BullScript. Consulting.
Everybody does that. It's okay.
Well, I think that's what it comes from, which is why I love the idea of your consulting company. But what people probably don't know is that you have a creative development exec background, and you've probably read more screenplays than anyone I know.
It's up there. Yeah, it's a large number. I'm a recovering development. Sorry, my mic. I'm a recovering development exec, as I like to say, and but I also have a screenwriting background, and and was mentored by a writer director when I started. So a little bit of both worlds.
Nice.
That's great.
That's how I like it.
We love it that way too, and we're glad to have you on our panel because we actually want to take some knowledge from you. But one of the main goals of our show is to tell other screenwriters how to get out there, find work, and I'm sure you see that all the time. And do you have some? I mean, to start it off, do you have some #1 tips or number?
It's success, and you guys know. I mean, success is part talent, part timing, part luck, part, stars aligning in the universe, part networking. It really usually comes when the right writer finds the right project at the right time. And usually there's two of those things happen very often, but very unusually do all three happen. And that's, when people actually really break in, is when all three kind of occur. There's, especially now, I mean, 12, 13 years ago when I started in this business, there were two ways to break in. Either you knew somebody or you queried somebody. And that was pretty much it. There were a few contests out there that people paid attention to. There was the Hollywood Creative Directory that everybody, got and just queried and called and whatever. But in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, it's changed, and really there's no one way in. There's no best way in. There's no right way in. It's whatever works for you. There are wrong ways in, but there's no one right way in. It's kind of however you do it, whether it's from queries, which we'll talk about, to winning a contest, to using a consultant who has those connections and wants to help, to networking and doing it yourself.
Yeah.
There's just no. It's an unlimited to actually just making your own movie and going the festival route and and doing it that way. There's just so many ways in, and through the the interwebs these days, that querying has become just another way.
It still works. It's good. That's good to know. Let's see if anyone else on the panel has a question for you, just in general terms about consulting and using consultants. Anybody want to raise a hand? Do you have a question?
Absolutely. I have a question.
Yes.
I mean, there's many things we're going to ask you,
Sure.
but this is one of them. When in choosing a consultant,
Whoops.
it's very. I think sometimes a lot of people are at the.
Can you hear us okay, Danny? Danny might be dropping out. Can you hear us?
I'm here. Everybody else froze for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Well,
I'll repeat myself.
go again.
Yeah.
I know. I said in terms of consulting or getting a consultant, because a lot of people are under the impression of throw everything at the wall or just query or call or talk to anybody. Which yes, it could obviously lead to a connection that you don't know about. But when you talk about focused, who is doing projects like yourself, who can actually give you really good feedback about a particular genre. What do you have? What are your viewpoints on those kind of things?
Sorry, repeat the last part of that question again. Sorry, you cut out a little there.
Oh, I did. Okay, well, hopefully. I was saying that when people they throw everything at the wall, because when we're trying to find a way to get in, we're throwing everything at the wall. We're sending sci-fi scripts, comedy people, just anybody who will just hopefully get us, And what are your ideas about being focused and very specific about when you're going out to get consultants, get help, get feedback, all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, doing your research is vital to every step of the process, not just the writing process, but the marketing and the pitching and the querying and the consulting process. You got to do your due diligence. You got to know who's looking for what, and it's not hard to find those things out. There are articles in the trades or on Deadline or the Wrap or whatever you read every single day that list the companies, what they've signed up to do, what they've bought, what they're looking for, the log line of the project. So it's really just about kind of keeping track, or Jason Scoggins has his spec market scorecard thing, and that's a great little tool when it comes out to keep track of stuff. But yeah, being targeted. There's two theories. One that I happen to subscribe to, and one that I don't. And one is just send your crap to everybody and see what happens. And if you can blanket the town with 250 emails or queries or letters, or then you've done your job. And I would say that you haven't done your job. You've done You know, my theory is to them be a specific query to that person. Um, if you're going to use online query sites like Virtual Pitch Fest or whatever, know who you're sending it to. You know, read what they're looking for, what they're not looking for, and don't bother a company who's done 25 comedies. Don't send them your torture porn, you know, script and ask if they'll make an exception for you, because chances are, if they haven't made an exception for the, you know, for the A-list writers that are out there that they could get from agents, they're not going to make an exception for someone sending a random query letter. So yeah, doing your research and having a focused approach to contacting people is, for me, the way to go. You know, for me, it's quality over quantity, but I know it has, you know, that's not to discount there are people that have just sent it to everybody, and if they get responses out of 200, they're like, yay, I won.
But will it go anywhere? Yeah.
Right.
You won't get any disagreements here.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And you're just, you know, you're wasting time on 198 no's. And not that you won't get no's anyway, you will. It's part of the process. You'll always get no's. But, you know, it'd be great to limit that to, you know, find the 25 companies that do exactly what you do instead of the 225 companies, and spend your time, you know, getting no those 25.
Yeah, it could go farther that way too. I mean, that's, to me, one of the big things. Yeah. Mark, did you have a question?
Yeah. As a consultant, do you have certain genres that you find it easier to consult on, or some that are more difficult? You know, like, do you have favorites, and do you find that you can put aside your preferences to, you know, give a good critique?
Yeah, I mean, consultants, I would think, at least for me, I deal with every genre across the board. We all have favorites. My favorite genre is the one that's under 110 pages. Whichever one that is my favorite. But I mean, yes, we have I think everybody has preferences, and it goes back to just what kind of movies you love to pay for and see in the theaters. I do a lot of, well, I do everything, but yeah, I love comedy. I've always been a big comedy guy. I do a lot of horror and thriller. You know, I was the judge for the Page Awards in horror thriller for the last 5 years, and this year I switched to TV because I realized their scripts are shorter. And you only have 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks to read 25 scripts, and it was a really busy month. So I went TV, finished in half the time. But and I love TV. I'm a huge TV whore. I love TV, and I'm very happy that as this comes, a lot. I would say when I started consulting, it was about 90% film and 10% TV, and now it's probably 65-35. You know, and I like that change. That changed a lot.
I had a question though about that. I mean, do you really think how many people have a shot to break into TV? You know, the only success story I've heard from a spec is the Extant, and it won a contest.
Mickey is a friend of mine, and he wrote a great pilot. He is, he's done my. We did a Q&A last year for my character course and stuff, and he's a really good guy. But it happens, but it does happen more that you will use that as a writing sample, or, you know, to get a manager or get staffed, you know, on a different show or something like that. The chances of, however, we'll say that the chances of selling a pilot today are 10 times more than they were than selling your feature, only because there's so many new distributors and new avenues to go through, and they're all looking for something different. Whereas film, you know, yes, there's a ton of companies, but they're basically all looking for the same movie in different ways.
Good point.
So I kind of think there is more of a chance of at least getting attention for your TV pilot out there. And every single manager I've talked to, every manager that I've worked with, wants both. They want a writer who wants or can do both.
That's good
So
to hear.
I tend to find
That's
that it's
interesting.
helpful, especially lately, and I'll discuss the
We're
reader
losing you just a little
service thing
bit.
that has worked with me at No BullScript is like, oops, sorry, you're still
Yeah,
there?
we just missed that little last part.
Okay.
Something that worked for you?
Oh yeah, all of the execs and managers that have worked with me at No BullScript have always asked for both, and are really, really open to reading both and prefer to read both from a new client, because the TV bubble may burst in a couple years, as a couple people have predicted, but for now, it's still where the money is. It's still where the jobs are. Yeah, I would certainly suggest it. And back to Margaret's other question is, I read a lot of sci-fi fantasy also, because as far as my first-time writer clients, I would probably say 30 to 40% of first-time writers write sci-fi or fantasy.
Really?
And so while fantasy may not be my favorite thing to read in the world, I do read quite a good bit of it.
Interesting.
A lot.
Mm.
Nicole, did you have a question? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, do you actually find many writers that you would be willing to recommend to your contacts through your consulting?
I do. Well, I guess it's a relative term, but I would probably say there's maybe 8 a year that get a recommend, but probably half of those are, about half of them, maybe 10 a year that would get a recommend, but more than half of those are professional, working writers who don't need me or want me to make connections. They already have those connections. They use me for a different reason, not to break in. So I would probably say I send out 4, maybe 5 scripts in a good year, and that's out of 250, 300 clients a year. Yeah, I'm hard on scripts, and that's just because there are plenty of consulting services. See, this is where I get into trouble. There are plenty of consulting services out there who will send a script out that just gets a consider. And I don't believe in that, because if I wouldn't recommend it, then why would I send it out to my contacts, unless it's something I know that they are really, really looking for and they would be willing to put in the work to fix it. But most companies don't do that anymore. So I would probably say it's less than a handful a year.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And I would probably say that only maybe 1 a year, maybe, like right off the bat, first time they send me, like first draft is just recommendable, awesome, right off the bat, can go out. I would maybe 1 a year, maybe.
Wow.
It's a lot.
It shows the odds, doesn't it? That you really do need to work hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you guys know it's a process. The first draft is never the one you should send out, and that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that writers, especially new writers, make, is they finish that first draft and they go, okay, ready for an agent, and then they wonder why their 250 queries got no responses.
Yeah.
Well, that's why.
Nicole, did you have a question?
Well, I mean, this is kind of a loaded question, but what would you say when a screenwriter's looking to find a consultant? What are the types of things they should look for?
Good question. Not loaded at all.
Right up his alley.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is about doing your due diligence. It is about knowing people who are and what they've done and their bios. And there's a big difference between someone who, there's kind of three types, maybe four types of consultants out there. There are professional writers who go into consulting. There's executives who go into consulting. There's readers who go into consulting. And then there's academics who go into consulting. And so, personally, it is my personal biased opinion that I would probably uh, say look for the people who have really been on one of the two sides of the table. Either they were a professional writer, at a decently high level, that have sold stuff and had something produced and really know the ins and outs of the business and the development process, or go for someone who is an executive on the other side who also knows the ins and outs of the business, has developed things, has pitched and been pitched, has option things, has worked on films that have been produced in some capacity. And by the way, we all know that IMDb does not list development executives' credits, which is a huge issue for execs, because they work on 24, 36 projects a year, and maybe one or two get made. And so with execs, there's a lot more experience behind the IMDb than are actually shown. But for me, I would just recommend that writers find someone whose personality that they connect with, someone who has some sort of experience, whether it's vast consulting experience or real or physical experience with the genre that they've written, and just go to someone who's been doing this for more than a hot minute. And has the experience to back it up. There's a lot of fly-by-night consultants out there. There's a lot of people who aren't doing it full time and just do a few clients here and there when they can, and those aren't consultants. Those they're not professional consultants. They're part-time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just do your due diligence. Know who know how to read their bios and know what it means. If someone says worked with the development staff, that means they were an intern. And if it says reader, that does not mean executive. That means leader. So yeah, there's some differences out there that people have to, I think, be aware of. And you want to know if you're getting coverage or if you're getting notes. And I have a horribly embarrassing story that I'll tell for the sake of my own career. Because we can curse, right? Okay, I try not to.
Indeed.
But I was up for a really, really good job that I really, really wanted at a very well-known company, and for a director of development job, I think.
Oops.
Now it's not the time to lose him.
I know, no, we're losing you in the middle of the story. Can you hear us, Danny? You froze up for a minute.
Killed the interview. Like, we had friends in common. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we lost you for a minute. So you said you killed the interview. It was a good interview.
I killed the interview. Oh yeah, it says my network connection is experiencing difficulties, but hopefully it'll just keep. It should keep going. I won't say the company name, but the projects they produce are like from another dimension.
Gotcha.
And I killed the interview. We really had a good chat and everything. I was sure. Nicole dropped out.
Yeah, hopefully she'll return.
Okay. And they gave me a script, and they said, please, here's a script, do get us your notes. And in my head, I heard do coverage on it. And I gave them coverage, and I swear to God, it wasn't until 2 days after I sent them the coverage that I reread the email and saw notes, and by then it was too late, and I tried to walk it back. I tried to contact them and be like, you know, you can't say, hey, I didn't listen to you clearly and I didn't follow directions, and I'm sorry, I actually do know the difference between the two. And it was, it hurt. Blatant stupidity. But it also taught me the very important difference between notes and coverage and what writers need and what companies need and what they don't.
So almost always they're going to want
always,
notes, right?
Yeah, well, almost always they're going to want coverage. They need notes.
Oh, okay.
And what I usually say is, you know, coverage is written so that nobody else ever has to read the script, and notes are given so that everybody else will want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's my saying that I go with, and I'm sticking to it.
Right.
I like that. It's a good one. Unless anyone has another specific question, I think we could segue into query letters, because you know, one of the things about query letters is I feel no one really knows how to write them anymore. Welcome back, Nicole.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Yay, just in time.
Just in time. We're going to talk about query letters. You know, and what's your general feeling about that, Danny? Because I'm like, I think it's still a vital tool, even if it's just an email query. It's an art, right?
Yeah, they're not hard, but they are a skill, and they're not something that you want to rush through in 20 minutes just to write a 2-line, you know, email. That's not gonna do what you really want it to do, especially for companies who are getting hundreds, if not thousands, of queries a month.
Right.
You got to stand out in a good way. You have to be a little bit more put together and specific than just, here's my log line, let me know if you want to read it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless you have like the greatest, most high concept, amazing original idea that you can get across in 2 sentences, chances are execs are going to need more from you in a in a query. So yeah, it is an art form in some way. It is a necessary evil.
Embrace the evil, huh?
And not know how to write a query. Most writers, you know, even ones who know how to write a great script, do not know how to sell it, and that goes hand in hand with pitching, because your query letter is really a good deal like your, you know, 2-minute pitch. And if you can do one, you can probably do the other. But there's a lot of writers who really just don't know what to include, what not to include, or just go about it in the wrong way.
Well, why don't we poll our panel here, see what they include, and you can tell us what we need to do better. Eric, what do you include in your query letters?
I do log line, usually something. No, I'm sorry. I take that back. Query letters, no, not the log line. Usually, whatever the question is right off the bat about the movie or the what ifs, you know, that kind of thing, with something that hooks them right in. And then we have our couple of like, it's hooked based, so it's probably about no more than 8 sentences. You know, 1 sentence, you know, hook, couple sentence, hook, couple sentence, hook, and then at the bottom, of course, I say, you know, if you like it, I'll send it to you. And then underneath, I have like 2 sentences of my bio. That's pretty much.
That's good. Marty, what do you do?
Yeah, very similar. I try to research the person first, and if it's somebody, of course, I know, I'll be up with what they're doing and compliment them or whatever, lead in that way, and then say, look, I've got this spec I'm going out to market with. If you're interested in having a look at it, here's and then I'll give the title, and same as Eric, a hook, a sentence, a hook, a sentence, and you know, probably only 3 paragraphs maximum, you know, very small paragraphs maximum, and then my bio, and say if you're interested, I'll send you the script, or even just 10 pages, and yeah, that's it.
That's it. Good. Nicole.
Well, I think we all kind of do the same thing. So I actually have a question. So for Danny, if you're a working writer like we are, do you think it's better to lead with the bio or close with your bio?
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I lead with the bio. If there's something that's gonna make you stand out, and grab them about you immediately, as opposed to the 1,000 other queries that they get, I would probably lead with that, whether that is something that connects you to the story in a really important way, or some amazing inspiration that's going to intrigue them, or just some sort of accolades or competition wins, or if you've been optioned or produced or repped before or anything like that, that is going to make you seem all the more of a professional writer. I would usually suggest to introduce yourself and have that one line bio as the first thing, because if they don't like your story, they don't care who you are. But if they really like you, they're going to care about your story even more. And so, yeah, I would probably, if you have something to say, and all of you do, there's some that don't, in which case you leave that out. But if you have something on the professional side that is going to grab their attention, I would probably say that first. Hi, my name is, and I am a two-time nickel semi-finalist, and I've been optioned or sold, I've had 2 scripts sold, or whatever it might be. I would probably lead with that, because they are more likely to realize that you probably have some talent, and the story you're going to tell comes with some experience. First. Is what I usually suggest. Now, every query is different, every writer is different, every story is different. There's no one perfect or right way to do queries, but I do have a couple kind of templates that I usually use that have been, decently successful, and usually get reads and things that I try to stick to when appropriate. But sometimes you want to start with a hooky line. For me, I never start with a rhetorical question. It's one thing to set up a kind of a scenario in a question, but like a rhetorical question to the reader, I usually stay away from. Same thing in your pitch. I hate rhetorical questions starting off a pitch. I think that it creates that awkward moment where you're not sure if you're supposed to answer, and if somebody kind of actually says no, to the rhetorical question, then they've kind of dismissed, they've dismissed your concept before you even told them anything about you or your story. So I would rather be brought in by you, or by your story, or by a character or something, than by a esoteric rhetorical question. But yeah, I would probably start with, if you have something to say that sets you apart, I would probably start with that personally. And if there's 2 more sentences that are kind of important about your bio, maybe put that at the very end. But yeah, that's what I would usually suggest.
That's cool.
I'm also big on log lines. If you can include your log line in a natural way, or even really an unnatural way, and just stick it in there, right kind of up front before you go into the couple of little paragraphs of plot and synopsis. I would usually suggest doing that if you have a really strong log line. It sets up the context of what they're going to be reading about, and it tells them that A, you know what the logline is for your project and you've thought about it, but B, they're going to be able, because they're not going to regurgitate the whole query letter to their boss, they're going to regurgitate the logline and say, hey, is this something we might want to read that might be for us? And so having that logline already there saves them the time of having to put one together, and it gives them the context of what they might want to read, even in a more commercial sense than your plot synopsis might. So I would probably suggest trying to do a log line in your queries if possible, and if you have a really a good log line.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I have read some. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, actually, that's what I left out when I was talking about mine. I put my log line in as well at the start.
Yeah.
That's good. I know some people at the end have been suggesting at different times that, like, would you want to read the first 20 pages? And I don't know. I've never done that. Do you think it's like, is that a good marketing tool, or do you just say, read this whole thing?
No, I mean, look, chances are they're only going to read 20 pages anyway.
Right.
So, by telling them that they only have to read 20 pages is giving them an out, and that creates a thing where, okay, now they have to request the 20 pages, you send that, then they're going to say, okay, I liked it, send the rest. You're just delaying the process even more than it needs to be delayed. So, I have seen stuff where they ask, where a query letter will ask, if you'd like to read a longer synopsis, first to get a better understanding of the story. Okay, but you're still delaying the inevitable. You want them to read your script. Like, that is the goal of a query letter, is to read your script. Right. So if you're not stating that very clearly in your query letter, or at least inherently in your query letter, by not saying, hey, if you want to read pages 1 through 13, then I would not. I think any excuse that an executive or a manager or an agent has to read less, they are going to take. So don't give them that excuse.
Yeah, I always like to say, would you like to read page 25? It's so good! You might get their attention, right?
But never attach pages. Never attach pages. I've done that before too. Like, if you're sending a query asking them to read the pages, they need to request the pages. Right. And if you send pages with your query, they're going to throw it out because it's not solicited, and they don't want to look at it. So it's even a lesser chance that they will read your query.
Yeah.
But usually one of the things I find with query letters is you have to include more about the story and maybe a little bit more about you than you would in a normal, like a face-to-face pitch or one of those, like an elevator pitch. And I mean, like, how much is too much and how much is enough?
Keep it, I just keep it concentrated and focused around the story and the professional. I get a lot of queries with personal sob stories. And and whole life stories. I mean, here I'll show you.
Yes, go into the show and tell. That's good.
Because I come prepared, but this is. I'll hold it up to the camera if you can see.
It's
like
handwritten.
A lot of handwritten, but it's on legal size paper. 2.5 sheets, and oh man, you know what? I have an awesome one that I've kept for 10 years. That's in my closet back here that I didn't grab, but it's actually from Australia, Margaret.
Not me. Not me.
It was not Margaret. But it was from Australia. I will never forget it because it was one of the first ones I really got after I got like my first promotion. And it's like 10, 12 pages long, and half of it is just condemning Hollywood and the assholes that have, not paid attention to this writer for years. And then the other half is the story, the very, a lot of the story. And so, yeah, I mean, anything personal, like, I don't care, execs don't care what your sob story is or what inspired you to start writing, unless it is something that specifically connects with your story, is that, inspiration for that story, or something that sets you up as an expert on your story. Like I would probably say I read about 600 query letters for a boutique agent earlier this year, maybe 6 months ago, and I would say 30%, maybe 20, 20%, 25% of those were war stories or soldier stories or, military stories. And so, unfortunately, they were all basically the same story. But, in that case, if you just came back from Iraq and you were a Navy SEAL and now you've written a Navy SEAL story, that's something to mention. That's going to make you the expert on that story and make it more likely for us to read it. But if your first line or is, I have suffered from severe mental illness all my life and now I want to write a movie about that, like, that's until I love your script enough to want to deal with you no matter how crazy you are.
Yeah, that is a side.
Plus, we're we're all screenwriters, so we're all just a little bit mentally ill anyway.
Yeah, don't point it out.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to say it. It's inherent in the fact that I'm querying. But yeah, I would say just enough to make us interested in you and your personality, or connect you to the story, or make you seem like an expert. Anything else is overkill.
Can I ask a quick question based on something that you mentioned earlier? You talked about not to include the pages because that would be considered unsolicited. What about companies that specifically say no unsolicited queries, no unsolicited submissions? Do you ignore that and send to them anyway, or do you move along? Because those tend to be the bigger companies.
Good question.
Yes, they are. The thing is, everyone, except for that small list on the WGA site or in the Hollywood Creative Directory, everyone says we don't take unsolicited. Most companies, and the bigger companies mean it, they do. But there's the smaller and medium-sized companies who say it, who don't really mean it. It's just company policy. And so, can you dismiss it and send anyway? Sure. You never know, but the chances are slimmer they're going to respond. But yeah, if unless you have a referral or something like that. But if it's really just a random query, it's the cost of a stamp, or the time of an email. So why not? But for the major companies or the studios, when they say it, they mean it, and there's probably no reason to query them, to be honest.
Okay, another question. Like you just mentioned, stamps versus emails. Which is better, physical or snail mail or an email?
Email is better. But then you have to worry about, like, what's the perfect subject heading to get them to open the email, which is tricky. And I've had some debates on that. Some execs have said, if there's something that makes it stand out, like, Nichols semifinalist, comedy script, or something that makes it, or page winner, or Austin second round, or something like that makes it stand out, to put that in the subject heading. Other people say if you have a really good title, and this is where your titles are so important, if you have a really good, intriguing title, I would just put the title, and someone will open that email. If you are attaching, this is where the attaching pages comes in. If they see that there's an attachment, they probably won't open it because it could be a virus, and they don't know you. So I would say no attachments to the email because they may just delete it. But yeah, I would say if you can email them and you have a great email and you have their email address and you know who it is, email is usually better. Snail mail, queries. I can't believe that they would work more than 1% of the time. I have heard stories. There are people, working writers, well-known writers, blacklist, writers, and by blacklist I mean the professional blacklist,
the
not
good
the
way, the good kind,
the real blacklist.
Right.
That have gotten management through that. It happens. It just doesn't happen nearly as often as it used to. So email queries are preferred if possible. And if you're gonna send snail mail queries, you don't have to send that little bat mitzvah card of would you like to respond to my script, yes or no, please mail it back. Like, nobody's mailing you back. If they're interested in your query, they're going to email you or call you and ask for the script. Like I never understood, like, would you like chicken or fish? And like, I don't get the self-addressed stamped, pre-recorded whatever. It's unnecessary.
Do you like me? Check 1. Yes, no.
Yeah, exactly. Would you like to meet after homeroom? Please circle 1. Yeah.
Funny.
Unnecessary.
When you are, I get your newsletter and all that stuff. So
Oh yeah.
I keep abreast of you all the time. So that was before this show. All you fans out there, okay?
I take latecomers. I take latecomers.
Right? So because I remember a couple things on Twitter. I remember a couple things of saying that some people you dealt with are having some success that something happened, right? For them, a script sold, management, something like that. So between the people that you work with that move forward, and move forward doesn't necessarily just mean selling something. It could be rewrite jobs, their writing gets better, so they get representation, versus the many others who send you a lot of stuff that I think they kind of come with the attitude like this is the best as it's gonna get. Like I don't need, you know what I mean? Like, what do you find between the people who you work with that are becoming successful or moving up the ladder, so to speak, versus the ones who come to you with, I don't want to say attitude, because we are all writers. We all have a certain attitude about us to do this, but they're not as happy to work with, or not ready to put in the work that it's going to take to get to the next level.
That's just it. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head yourself already, which is you have to be willing to put in the work to get to the next level. Did I lose you?
No.
Okay, sorry. Anne froze for a sec.
I did.
I dropped off. It is about putting in the work. It's also about being an idea machine. And I think the biggest difference between the writers that I work with that succeed and the writers that I work with that don't is the ones that don't have one idea. They want to write one script, they want to get one script produced, and they never want to do this again. They're not in it for a career, they're in it for the legacy. They're in it, not the legacy is a bad reason to go to Hollywood, it's a pretty darn good reason, but they just want to tell that one story that they've wanted to tell since high school, and chances are, because this is somewhat of a quantity and quality game, if you have one script, if you have one idea, and that's all you ever want to have, you are useless to a manager, you are useless to an agent. You might be useful to the right producer, but chances are, if you've only written one script, you're not at the place yet where producers are going to invest their time to help develop your stuff, because it is no longer that, that 50% rule of, if you have a good idea and the script is just 50% there, they'll take it the rest of the way. They don't work like that anymore, not since the writer's strike. So I think the difference really is putting in the time and knowing that your third draft is not your final draft. And there's probably a lot more work to do. Oh, someone is calling me. Sorry. We'll ignore that. Nobody
You're
calls
popular.
me. People only call me. It's probably my mom. Like, nobody calls me unless I'm doing a podcast or something. But yeah, it's putting the work in and knowing that that writing is rewriting, and being able to take the other big one is not only being able to take notes, but being able to address notes. And I mean, I've done plenty of classes and kind of seminars and stuff on notes and the notes you'll get and things like that. But that's really the big difference is being able to take notes and actually address it to improve the script, instead of just looking at notes and then polishing a few lines here and there and calling it a rewrite. And yeah, just being able to know that this is this is a long game. This is a it is both a sprint and a marathon.
Right.
And you have
Good
to
to know.
be, because it's not one or the other. At any given time, it is either a sprint or a marathon, and you just have to be prepared for whichever race you are running that day.
Mm.
Very good, very good. I wanted to ask you something just to tie up our whole query part. Was how long should people wait or expect to hear back from them? I mean, I know sometimes never. And is there follow-up? Is there acceptable follow-up?
Yeah, I would say with a query, you get one follow-up. If it's different. If they have requested your script and you have sent your script, then you get like 3 follow-ups. Hold on, because someone is really calling me. It seems to be very important.
Uh-oh, the building is on fire. Could you please evacuate? That's all you.
This is what Screenwriters Beat does to people's careers. This is how we do.
Oh.
This is what we.
You know what? It actually is. Strangely enough, it actually is an agent calling me back from yesterday.
Oh.
I recognize that number, but I will call them back.
Wow.
They don't want to interrupt. Look, it's like then you'll tell the story. I was on this show and I couldn't take the call, and then.
Yeah, I am really sorry, APA, but I will return.
We saw you on Screenwriters Beat, Daddy. We were calling you.
We are watching you. Don't give away your secrets. Yeah, with the queries on the, yeah, I mean, if I've snail mailed a query, then there's no getting back. You're just, if they don't get back to you, they just don't get back to you, and that will happen 93% of the time at least. And with email queries, maybe you send one follow-up, a month later, but that's it. You really can't do that. Yeah, I mean, either they're going to read it or they're not, and quite frankly, if they're going to request it, they're going to request it within 5 minutes of opening your email. They're not going to come back to it and decide and read it again and again and and think about it that hard. If they want it, if it sounds like a good idea to them, they're going to request it within 5 minutes of opening it. So you probably don't need to follow up on queries. Because the fact that they haven't gotten back to you is your answer. Yeah, it really is. And I do want to share just a couple. I mean, I have an article that I wrote a few months ago that got around pretty well, called the 50 50 mistakes. 50 shades of 50 Shades of No, something like that. 50 reasons that people pass. I forget my own article titles. 50 reasons of no-nos in your query letter. And you can find that on my website, and it's long, but it's funny, and it's a good time. But this is, I can hold this one up to the camera very, very clearly. This is a grown person who sent this.
Oh no! What? If you have ancient, oh man, that's crazy.
This is a real thing that looks like a 6-year-old wrote it, and it just says, "Dear agent, if you have a literary agent there, may I please send you a box of my novels so you will read one chapter of your choosing, and please represent me. In the 1980s, I was a ghostwriter. Thank you. P.S. I have many more novels." Like, I mean, in big block letters. I mean, 3rd grade block letters. And I mean, the one that I held up before on the what's it called, on the red, on the legal size pad that was handwritten. My favorite part of this, and there are so many. In fact, it was so awesomely bad that at the top I just wrote "awesome." but my favorite part is actually, you won't be able to see it on camera, but I'll read it. It's just one sentence at the very end on the third page, which is, this is a 27-year-old writer. Um, if you call my mom, Sarah, at the number below, please make sure to leave a message. If she doesn't answer, she will be expecting a call from you at any time. Thank you.
Oh no!
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, like, so, I mean, he says, I live in my mom's basement. You know,
Oh.
he's 27, and apparently he needs his mommy to answer his calls for him. So that's an issue.
Did you call, Danny? Did you call?
Oh no, I did not. I've dealt with enough
Chicken.
Yeah, really.
Here's the other one I'll show. You can see. I'm gonna just hold it up. I think you should be able to see the circles.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
All of those circles are typos.
Oh no.
Wow.
That's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's at least 50 to 60 typos in this one page, and and they were not querying from out of the country. Like, this is someone who
Speaks English.
supposedly. So I mean, those are just some of the great. I mean, I have like a whole box of great ones that I love, but those are just some easy things that are like within your control that you should be able to figure out not to do.
Definitely.
But they don't.
They don't. Does anybody have a positive spin? Does anyone have a positive query letter they want to share? They've gotten some traction with. Are you?
I'm sorry,
Eric?
it would have helped if I had read your email.
Oh yeah, it would have.
Actually, the one that I have, I don't have it, but the one I have right now for the broad comedy called Mr. First Lady. I usually send the script. I've got probably 20 plus.
That's great.
Out of 100, I think if I send about 100. So that's all that. Hey, that's about right. That's about.
That's a good margin.
Yeah. So that was really that was just the timing, the political climate, all that kind of stuff. So timing, as Danny talked about at the beginning. And usually there are a lot of first female presidential things coming out, whether it be TV or film. So I kind of went the different route and went to the first lady thing with the female president. So it's kind of like, okay, nice twist a little bit, and then whatever, and then everything about writing and story. So a couple people are interested in a couple of options on the table, but we'll see how that goes. But that letter, which is Danny also said, I looked over that thing so thoroughly, like you cannot check all the yours and the yours and they and they are and their, all that stuff.
Yes.
You gotta really check that stuff. That is really important. It really is.
You're and it's.
And it's.
I don't know what it is about those four interchangeable. I don't know, but they're not interchangeable. That is the point. But yeah, there's just some things like, much like your pitch, and I taught pitching at Story Expo. I've taught it for years and years. It's kind of how I got into consulting, quite frankly. But really, query is just like your pitch. You want to include those main things. You want to set up a context for you and for your project. You want to get across your concept. You want to get across the character that we're following and what they have to do. You want to get across the conflict that's in the story. If there's a world, a different world that we need out, or if that's your hook, you want to get across the hook, obviously, and conflict, character. There's another C in there. Context, character, conflict. Oh yeah, and concept. That was the four. But I mean, if you can get across those 5 things plus maybe the world, if that's different, if you can get across those 5 things and you have an interesting idea, then the chances are good that, and you're sending it to the right company at the right time, then chances are you'll get read and you'll get requested. But too often, there's either way too much information or way too little information, and it's really just bringing out the context of the project, the plot in its broad strokes, and then also mixing it up with a little bit of salesmanship and a couple of good adjectives and a couple of good selling points and the template, movies, the comparison movies. It's this meets that, or it's in the vein of this and that. And if you're using, that's part of the context. And if you're using those, it's usually not that hard to get read. I can read one. I read it. It's the one I read. One of the ones I read in my class, and it's somewhat short. But it was one that I did for clients, and it got them a few meetings, and it got them read quite a bit. I can read it if you want.
Yeah, definitely.
Please, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, excuse my eyes because I'm reading from paper, but it's I won't use their names, but dear person, we are blank and blank, a sister writing team and Page Award semifinalists. We've written a new period action thriller, In the Water, based on the harrowing true story of the greatest naval disaster in history, the sinking of the USS Indianapolis. Logline: after their ship is torpedoed and sunk by a Japanese sub, a fleet of men must survive the perils of the water, including deadly sharks, starvation, and their own insanity, as they wait for a rescue that may never come. An ultimate tale of survival, In the Water follows the heartbreaking journey of the Indy's crew: an overwhelmed doctor desperate to save as many as possible, a green officer who's in over his head, a hard-nosed Marine determined to keep the peace, and a pair of best friends supporting one another as they drift alone at sea. Each day that passes brings with it greater suffering and more death. As the sharks swarm and their hopes fade, each man comes to realize that the greatest battle he will ever face is his own inner struggle for survival. It's Alive meets Open Water. If you'd like to read In the Water, please contact us at blank. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely. And yeah, it has some nice wordplay. We get what it's about. It's an ensemble, and yet it kind of breaks down each storyline into very digestible portions where we know each character and what they have to do and why we'll care about that part of the story. And it was a good idea and a well-written script. But so yeah, I mean, it's one of the ones I kind of read in my classes, but it's to the point. It's less than 3/4 of a page. It's about half a page or so. And it has all the bits of information we need, and it enough about them that we care.
That sounds cool. Oh, guys, we have gone pretty long, which is great. We knew we'd go longer with Danny because he's full of information.
Because I can't shut the hell up.
I'm like,
it's fantastic. Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Part 2 and Part 3, I told you.
We will definitely have Danny back because there's more. I think we could have a whole show on the pitching side of it, which is really important.
Before we close out, real quick, let me just say this to everybody. Danny has this. I mean, if you go on his website, I think it's at the bottom of his under his name.
Put it up.
He has a class. This is a class that seriously really helped me. The first 10 pages. That is a bomb class, Mr. McManus.
Is it like an on-demand class, Danny?
You know, it is on demand through the Writer's Store. It will next year. It will start being on demand. I'm going to start putting all my classes because they seem to be on demand at other places, but not my own website. Other than my 4-week character class that I did last year is on demand on my website, and it's a really good class, and I bring in guest speakers, including Mickey Fisher from Extent, and including the two guys, if you've been reading, Ben Lustig and Jake Thornton, who just sold their $3 million pitch in the last 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they are killing it in the biggest way possible right now. They're also two of the guests that we did Q&A with, because Ben went to college with to the same place that I went to, and I've known him for a while. But yeah, the first 10 pages is not on my website yet, but hopefully will be soon, and I'll be giving it as another as a class on my own soon, and then will be available.
I'm sure if they sign up for your newsletter, they'll hear about when it's available. So
Yeah.
Yes, all of that stuff. I will make one plug if I can, and certainly anyone out there, I would love to work with you. And please find me on Twitter. Find me at my website there and stuff. You can find me on Twitter at Danny Manus, but that's not the plug. So 2 plugs really. I started a couple of months ago. I started a second reader service where you can either in conjunction to getting notes with me, written notes from me, or just a la carte, you can get notes from a working executive, manager, or producer. We've got about 10 or 12 awesome execs and managers listed on my website, and they will read your script and do a notes call with you and go through and give you notes. So everyone's always kind of looking for access, and this is really about getting professional notes from professionals. But if they like you, they like your stuff, the goal is that they'll ask to read it again, or they'll ask to read something else, or want to keep in touch. And they're still on sale, all those packages and services. So if you're interested in getting notes from me and or from execs, please check it out and let me know, and I'd love to work with you.
Oh, great!
That's my plug.
Great.
That's it.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Very nice.
Please get on his Twitter, because if something happens, the stuff he's telling us, like he'll just like, oh my God, how many times can you say this in a query letter? Like he'll just word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm serious.
And if anyone's going to Austin Film Festival this year, I'll be there, and I'll be at Florida Writers Conference next week if anyone is in the Orlando area.
Cool.
And then Vegas. We're doing a Vegas Pitch Fest in November. So.
Wow.
Yeah, and
I'm here in Vegas.
Yeah.
I didn't
You're
know
in
that.
Vegas?
I am.
I didn't know that you were in Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I call it a suburb of LA, so yeah.
Yeah. I love me some Vegas, even though she did me wrong 2 weeks ago. She did me wrong.
She does that a lot.
And we'll be back there November 13th to the 15th. We are putting it together. We're going to bring some execs out and do a little pitch fest there. So.
Ooh, well, cool. I gotta go.
Yeah,
Terrific. Well, thank you so much, Danny, for being here. Like I said, I definitely would love to have you back again, and
anytime.
And it was just wonderful. Bravo.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. As our parting goodbyes, let's all say something encouraging, a quote, a saying, I don't know, whatever, to get other writers out there to go and write. Danny, do you have one you want to start? We'll let the guests go first.
It's like I said, it is both a marathon and a sprint, and just be prepared. Keep writing, keep at it. Take the notes as they come, and adapt, but keep at it. Don't give up unless. Well, I want to keep it positive, so just don't give up, and keep going and reach out, and make sure that you're doing both the creative side and the business side, and growing in both directions.
Brilliant. Nicole, how about you?
I guess the most positive thing, I don't know, I'm not really prepared, but I would say definitely follow Danny. He's awesome. His newsletter's great. Everything about Danny's great. So that's my word of advice.
Good. Margie?
That would have been mine too, but I already gave my 2 plugs. I was out. Thank you.
Okay, well, ditto from me, and then I've got a quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes that says, "The mode in which the inevitable comes to pass is through effort." And that's so true. Just keep working, keep believing in yourselves.
Perfect.
That's my word. Yeah.
I like it. Good one. Eric, you usually come up with some sweet ones.
Write these letters down. Ready? D-A-N-N-Y. I won't lay it on too thick. Okay. No, really, it's been an honor to have you on here, bro. Like I said, I've been watching you from afar for a while. So, pleasure to meet you and all that good stuff at the different events that we, see each other at. And my word would be definitely, you gotta believe in yourself. So everyone has a story to tell, but you can't be afraid to tell it.
Very good. Very good. Very good one. Well, mine would tag on to what Danny already said. It's like, go the extra mile. It's never crowded.
Yeah, true.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I like that. Yeah, and
somebody, I don't know, I found it with it was like one of those pretty little pictures you could print out, which we should. Right. So, but I'm sure somebody really wise said it, like Oliver Wendell Holmes.
all of my inspirational quotes come from posters with kittens on them.
There you go. Where's your cat? Is your cat there?
Yeah, he's sleeping over here on the chair over here. Yeah. Well,
guys, thanks again. Once again, another great show full of cool information. So get out there, get writing, and visit us again. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Danny. See ya.
Bye.